In the mist-veiled north of ancient Ireland, where the hills of Uele touched the sky and the wind carried the whispers of gods and warriors, there lived a people shaped by battle and beauty. Emerald fields stretched beneath pale skies, and deep rivers carved the land like memory itself. Among this rugged terrain, the traditions of kings and champions flowed as steadily as the waters, and the names of heroes were spoken with reverence. It was a time when myths moved alongside men. The gods walked among mortals in quiet disguise, and fate spun its threads with careful intention. In the fortress of Macha, the noble warriors of the Red Branch assembled, fierce and proud, beneath banners of gold and crimson. Here the old ways were guarded, and the young were raised to greatness. Amid these ancient stones and sacred oaths, a child was born, one who would carry in him the fire of the divine and the weight of prophecy. His name was Setanta, and though he was young, there was already something unshakable in him. He was not like other children of his age. The air around him shimmered faintly, as though even nature paused to take notice. He grew in the shadows of giants, walking paths once taken by warriors whose names echoed through the hills. His eyes, deep as winter skies, carried questions older than his years. There was a silence to him, but not the silence of absence, rather the stillness before a storm. And though his hands were small, they were destined to hold more than any child's should bear. Setanta moved through his early days with quiet certainty. In the fields of Eamon, he chased the wind, racing alongside birds and shadows. The other boys admired him, though they did not fully understand him. He was one of them, but apart. Stronger, quicker, and with an ease that made the difficult look effortless. His teachers saw the signs, in the boy's grip of the javelin, in his stance during the mock duels, in the focus behind each throw. There was a promise unfolding, not simply of skill, but of something older. Some whispered it was the mark of a god. That, in the boy's blood, stirred the will of Lu, the long-armed lord of the Tuatha De Danann. Whether this was truth or tale, none could say, but even the druids watched him with narrowed eyes, as though sensing what lay just beyond the veil of now. Setanta trained among older youths, often besting them with surprising grace, yet he remained humble, untouched by arrogance. He did not seek praise or favor. He seemed instead to follow an invisible thread, a pull from within, guiding him toward something unseen. And the land, in turn, seemed to respond to his presence. Animals approached him without fear. Storms slowed as they passed over his path. And those who met his gaze often found themselves pausing, as if suddenly remembering a dream long forgotten. In time, word spread of a great gathering, a feast hosted by a master craftsman, a man named Colin, whose hall stood not far from the edge of the Ulster woods. Warriors, nobles, and poets alike were to attend. The king and his champions would be there, and songs would be sung deep into the night. Such events were not mere celebrations. They were moments of recognition, of destiny. Though just a boy, Setanta was granted the rare honor of attending, his reputation already echoing louder than his years. He departed for the feast, alone, confident and sure-footed, with a ball and stick in hand. Along the path he played and trained, striking the ball forward and chasing it, never once slowing his pace. While Setanta journeyed, Colin's hound stood watch at the gates of the hall. It was no ordinary creature. Born of magic and bred for war, the beast guarded its master's home with deadly devotion. It had never failed its duty and knew no fear. Colin, unaware that the boy had been invited, instructed the hound to guard the grounds as night approached and the last of the guests arrived. The feast began as twilight painted the skies in hues of silver and violet. Inside, the warmth of fire and laughter rose, while outside, the great hound prowled beneath the stars. Night deepened. The sky above Colin's hall shimmered with scattered stars, and the scent of roasted meat lingered in the air like memory. Within, guests drank and spoke of battles long past, while music flickered in the corners like candlelight. But beyond the firelit stone walls, the great hound stirred. It felt the approach of something, or someone, not yet known to it. Ears alert, body tense, the guardian moved silently beneath the trees, eyes glowing with quiet warning. The boy had drawn near. Setanta walked with purpose, unaware of the danger that awaited. The hound sensed a stranger, but did not see a child. It saw only an intruder, someone who had crossed into sacred ground without permission. The beast charged. What happened next unfolded not in the span of minutes, but in heartbeats. The ground trembled as paws struck soil. Setanta turned, and in that moment, something ancient awakened within him. Not fear, but clarity. He moved as if guided by time itself. The same instincts that had led him through games and training now flowed into one precise, impossible moment. The ball still in his grasp, the stick firm in his hands, he stepped into fate. With the strength of youth and the precision of prophecy, he struck. The air split, and the hound fell. In the stillness that followed, the earth seemed to hold its breath. The great hound lay quiet, its spirit returning to the old wild places from which it had once come. The boy, alone beneath the stars, stood beside the fallen beast. There was no triumph in his face, only stillness, and something far older than pride. When he arrived at the feast, the mood shifted. The loss of the hound was not a small matter. Cullen had trusted that beast with his life, and in ancient times, such guardians were more than animals. They were symbols, protectors of thresholds, woven into the very identity of their masters. The boy stood before warriors and kings, before the wise and the powerful. But there was no punishment, no anger, for even the eldest among them could see this was no ordinary event. This was the shaping of a name. Setanta, the child who had unknowingly crossed into danger, had faced it with the spirit of a warrior. And in recognition of what had occurred, of the act, the loss, and the unspoken promise that followed, a new name was spoken. He would now be known as the Hound of Cullen, Cú Chulainn. It was not merely a title, it was a vow. From that day forward, Cú Chulainn bore his name with the weight of destiny. He had not asked for it. He had not earned it through ceremony or favor. He had stepped into it fully and without hesitation, shaped by forces both seen and unseen. The name was more than sound. It was story. It was memory and oath, blade and shield. To be the Hound of Cullen was to be protector, defender, guardian of the thresholds others could not cross. And Cú Chulainn embraced that role without question. He became not only a warrior of unmatched skill, but a figure who moved between worlds, between childhood and legend, between man and myth. His journey was just beginning, but already the world had changed around him. The trees remembered him. The rivers whispered his story. And in the distant hills, where the sky met the earth, the gods looked on, silent, watching, waiting for what would come. Names in ancient times held power. They were not given lightly, nor taken without cost. To be named was to be known, not merely in the eyes of others, but in the deeper threads of the self. When Setanta became Cú Chulainn, he crossed a threshold, not only in the world, but within his soul. The hound he had slain had guarded a man's house. Now he would guard a people. The boy had played with javelins and dreams. Now he would wield fate itself. The name endured through centuries of song and silence, through the voices of poets and the minds of those seeking courage in the darkness. For in the story of Cú Chulainn, one finds not only the making of a hero, but the quiet moment when destiny first opens its hand. And so the child became legend, and the land remembered his name.